everyone, this is Nitro. So without realizing it, it's been 3 weeks since I last did a Nitro setup video covering my account. So I thought I would just do this one this week to try to catch up on what has happened. So one of the things that has changed is I did one more readjustment of my shard farming plans for October. And this readjustment was because I realized that last week on last Saturday was the very last chance I had to grind someone up to 6 stars for the Apex playoffs. So I decided that I might as well grind up Hiei to 6 stars, and that's why I started grinding him on Saturday. So with that grind begun, he will be 6 stars just in time for the Apex playoffs, which makes him more powerful and usable. Hiei is not currently in my box, but it gives me some additional flexibility with regards to bringing assassins in my party to crush my opponents. So that's one adjustment I've made with regards to the farming plans. There was rebalancing as a result, but I realized that I can get both Arianrod and Licorice up to 6 stars as well in time for those playoffs. So Licorice's 6 star level will be delayed because I'm going to prioritize getting Arianrod to 6 stars first. But once Arianrod is done, I'll focus on Licorice, and then I'll have Arianrod, Licorice, and Hiei at 6 stars. I'm also doing Ares right now to finish him up because it doesn't seem like we're going to be getting 18 Gate of Fate run event, so I moved Ares in as well. So I'm giving up on finishing up Akaya temporarily, but there's also no rush for me to build up Akaya, right? Akaya needs to be 6 stars to be used. Her exclusive comes out in December, but you know what? I can have her finished later, like maybe in January or February, and still have her ready for the following season's Apex playoffs. So prioritizing the playoffs for this season over future characters is what I'm doing right now. So that's the adjustment right now. Still going to fire up Hobo. Hopefully I'll get him this Thursday. That is when his banner is released, Hobo with Helena. So fingers crossed there. But I do have a decent amount of savings to try to get him. So that's the shard farming adjustments, the finalized ones for, I guess, the playoffs, the upcoming playoffs in December, I think. Next up, some interesting enchants over the past 3 weeks. Didn't really get much. Well, I got 2 good enchants in the past 3 weeks. Keep in mind, I'm constantly rolling roughly 50 SR enchants and 85 SSR enchants per week. And the first one, the one on the left, was a Miracle Staff for clocks. I was actually trying to roll for high int on this enchant, and instead I got 7% hit points, 3% defense, 4% magic defense. I decided to give this to Bozo, right? So that would increase Bozo's survivability. Bozo loses 1% magic defense with this, but he gets a whole bunch of hit points and regular defense, which is a nice increase in my opinion. So that's the first enchant that I got. Right. In the meantime, his original Miracle Staff, I'm now re-rolling for int. So hopefully I'll get a good, 15% int there. Other than that, I posted this on my YouTube channel already, but I got a Scarlet Reaper with roughly 17% attack increase, because there's the 14% attack and also a 16 base attack increase. So that adds up to roughly 17%, which is a nice roll. So, 2 good rolls so far in the past 3 weeks. So now let's talk about the gear that I farmed in the past 3 weeks. The first one was, I got an insane number of SSRs the week before this, and that was 19 SSRs. The week of September 28th to October 4th, I got 14. And 14 is still very, very high. Okay? It's not as good as 19, of course, but can't complain about 14. Most importantly, I got my very first juggler plushie from my monthly accessories in October. So I did have the equivalent from the equipment banner, which was Iris's teddy bear. Sorry, it was the Iris teddy bear. But now I also have a juggler plushie. So this gives me 2 of these accessories, which is certainly useful. Right. The monthly shard purchases of accessories give me a Holy Ark and Holy Grail, both of which were ored. This week, the first week of October, I got Angel Feather from Timeless Trial, which is also ore. And other than that, I picked up a few other useful items in those 14 SSRs. What a Galaxy Cloak, which can make me a level my 7th level 40. So I need one more to make it level 50. I got a Tenyos headdress, which is very, very important because I've been desperate for them. And apparently this, I'm not sure if I wrote this one right. I wrote that it was my 6th Tenyos headdress. Not quite. I'm gonna have to double check on that after this. And I got an Azure Legend, which I initially decided to keep, ended up turning it into ore. So ultimately, of the 14, I only kept 2. Okay, the Galaxy Cloak and the Tenyos headdress. So I got 1200 ore in addition to this, and the 1200 ore was used for Epic Martial Spirits and so on. Next. So I guess the second week of October, I suppose. So for this second week of October, the number of SSRs continues to drop. Right? It went from 19 to 14, and now it went from 14 to 11. 11 is still pretty high though. You really can't complain about that. So the 11 SSRs means that I got, I actually ended up keeping just one this week, which was the Lacerates. Everything else was ored, so 1000 ore with 1 Lacerates, and this Lacerates is apparently my 7th Lacerates, which is a good number. Timeless Traveler this week gave me a Lone Star Armlet, which was also ore. And then last week. So last week, I got the worst number of SSRs I've gotten in quite some time. And there were a total of just 6 SSRs. Okay. And this is 6 SSRs with lots of random accessory box purchases too. So what I got was Timeless Travel gave me a Blood Pact. Of those 6 SSRs, 2 of them came from random accessory boxes. One of which was an Angel Feather, and the other was a Veil of Light. And then the remaining, so I only got 4 SSRs in total from Dragons, Joint Battles, and World Map Events, which is totally garbage. Of those 4, none of them were kept, so it just gave me a 400 ore. That was it. So, furthermore, 3 weeks ago, I had 10 vouchers and 4,721 crystals. I currently have 62 vouchers with 10,632 crystals. When I factor in the Strategy Squad rewards, which was 20 vouchers and 2,100 crystals, this increase is just 37 vouchers and 3,811 crystals. Actually really, really low. I'm not entirely sure where I used some of my crystals. No, I had to have used up a whole bunch of crystals, and I'm not entirely sure where, because you're normally supposed to get around 2,000 crystals per week. So I am missing kind of like 2,000 crystals right now. So maybe I wasted it on purchasing some vouchers. Maybe I wasted it on, I definitely used a bit on, let's say, the banner, on the Macho Lotto, and on things like the weekly purchases from the Time Space Merchant, but surely I didn't use 2,000. Not quite sure what happened there. But in any case, this was my increase so far. So currently 62 vouchers, 10,630 crystals, gives me a decent number of summons for the banner this week, the major update that's coming this week. And in terms of gear, so what I'm looking at then is currently I need 1 more Extreme Magic Bow for Hiei. I realized I probably want another Balanced Blade, probably for Bernhard or Leon. So there's actually 2 weapons I want right now, but I don't feel that getting either weapon is a high priority that I need to do weapon gambles. My priority is still Epic Martial Spirits at this time. So I'm not going to gamble for weapons, but those are the 2 weapons I want. The Tenyos headdresses, I currently have listed that I have 5. I'm not sure if I have 5 or 6, but I really do want 7. Right? I want 1 for every healer, which would be Liana, Iris or Sophia, and Wilder. I'm going to want 1 for Gizarov, 1 for Deedlin, 1 for Licorice, and 1 for Mr. Hobo. Okay. Of course, if I get more, I can still use them. Like, for example, maybe I can give 1 to Yusuke, right? Maybe I can give 1 to Bozel, if I'm willing to have Bozel have less magic defense. So Bozel's probably not a useful one. But also, maybe Listel would want 1 too. So while I do want 7, I can use 9 even. Like, more of them will certainly not hurt. But once I get 7, I think I may stop doing gambles for helmets at that point. Right? And in terms of the accessories, well, it's just 3 accessories now that I did get an Apex boost last month. And the 3 accessories I want is the Twilight Star, more juggler plushies, and Swordsmith Medal. In terms of the Twilight Stars, I want them for characters like Sonya, Akka, and Lustriel. Right? In terms of juggler plushie, I realize I still want 3 more. You only need 2, well, ideally you would have 4 juggler plushies in total, but you can use 5, right? And the ones who can still use it is Rachel, Tiaris, and Imelda. Rachel so that her gospel lasts 3 turns, Tiaris for attack blessing, Imelda for her Queen's Whip buff. As for Swordsmith Medal, I list 3 heroes I wanted for, but truthfully speaking, you can use like 8 Swordsmith Medals, no joke. Like characters like Bozel, characters like Landius, characters like Green can use it, existing characters like Listel and Juggler, healers like Sophia can use it, for immunity to silence and fixed damage. So anyone who is not like a DPS that needs like a single target DPS, but characters who want to be immune to both fixed damage and silence can all use Swordsmith Medal. So that's a wide number of heroes. Alright, so with all this mentioned, let's jump into the game now. Okay. So in the game, what I'm looking for right now is I'm just hoping to get right now I'm just hoping that I will get a few more tenuous headdresses, first of all. So that's what I'm going to do first, gambling. And I'm just going to take a look here because I wanted to see just how many tenuous headdresses I actually have. I did not update that number, so I just wanted to take a quick peek and see if I have, 5 or 6 tenuous headdresses. So looking here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I do have 6. So that's why I got confused. The 6th one is set up here on Kurama, and it's on Kurama right now because I'm just going to move it to Hobo as soon as he's available. So I have 6, I just really need 1 more tenuous headdress. Although, as I mentioned, if I get more, I'm not going to complain. So yeah, let's start with that, the gambles. So I currently have 500 ore column ore, as long as I can. Right. The ore count is very low because of the low amount of ore I was getting last week, or low number of equipment I was getting last week. So let's start with the first gamble. Frostfire Crown is ore. Second gamble, Witch's Reminiscence. That's also honestly ore. I kept 1, but you don't really want more than that. And I'm going to have to turn these 2 back into ore so I have enough ore to do the third gamble. So let's see. So I'm not going to keep the Witch's Reminiscence. Yes, it offers the immunity heal reversal and immunity to stop to act again effects and so on, but it's not as important as other items like tenuous headdresses and so on, I feel. So let's ore those 2. I already have one at level 50, currently equipped on Leanna. And I'm going to go for the third one. So the third gamble. A tenuous headdress! Yes! So this is my 7th tenuous headdress. Now I have to wonder if I continue to gamble for it, because as I mentioned, I can potentially, equip one on Listel rather than the Njord's Feathered Crown, and I can always equip one on Yusuke instead of Odin's Battle Helm, right? So there are still characters who could use it, but it's no longer a top priority, I feel. So that is the 7th tenuous headdress that I just got. Celebration! Yes! Just gonna have to enchant that up, but fortunately, I do have 40 SSR enchant scrolls to use this week, and if I purchase the 25 here, right? So that would give me, so that's 40 plus 25, that's 65, and then you can get 10 more from Timeless Trials. So that's a total of 75 SSR enchants that I can use to get a good enchant on that. So no complaints there. But yeah, I'm super happy with this. So maybe for now though, I can probably focus on purchasing Epic Martial Spirits to get a lot of the gear that I want to upgrade up to level 50 before I continue to do some gambles. Or I can just save up ore. Like realistically, there's a whole bunch of items I want to level up, like a Demon Slayer, like some of the exclusives that are at level 20. So I have time to now start upgrading that stuff, but I can also continue to do 3 gambles per week to get the items that I still want, like the balanced blade, like a few more tender side dresses, stuff like that. So we'll see. Either way, the gambling options are now optional. I have most of the items that I want except for accessories at this point. Okay, so I'm just looking forward right now to the upcoming banner, and an interesting point is I have the option to get a guaranteed Amelia if I draw on this banner, but because I'm more concerned with getting Hobo Landius, I'm just not going to get Amelia at all. Like, in the first place, there's absolutely, from my calculations, there's absolutely no chance of me ever building up Amelia, right? Not to 6 stars. So maybe if I get her off banner, I'll have a copy of her, but otherwise I have no reason to actually draw for her. It's just that simple. And, you know, currently this 10,632 crystals is the equivalent of 120 vouchers. So I have 100, so you can say I only have 182 vouchers on hand. On one hand, it's a lot. On the other hand, it certainly does not guarantee a hero on a 2-character banner. So that's why I decided that, all things considered, it's not worth getting Amelia, because I desperately need that second Mythical Realm faction buffer for my Apex box. So I run a very Mythical Realm heavy box right now, and that's why getting Mr. Hobo would really help me. Like, if I look at this right now, here, I use Bozel, I use Zerida, I use Juggler, I use Gizaroth, right? So that's 4 characters. I use Yusuke, that's 5. I use Reen and Arianrod, 6 and 7. Right? I can very well use Sophia, that can be 8. I can very well use Yulia, that would be 9, right? And Bernhard and Akka are both characters who may eventually join my party, both of which are also Mythical Realm. So that right there adds up to 10 heroes that are Mythical Realm, that are in my Apex box. It's a very big number. So you can kind of see why I'm currently, I currently feel I really do need Mr. Hobo to join my box. Alright, so that is one big priority for me that's going on right now. And other than that, I'm very happy with the way my gear has gone. Like, definitely seen massive improvements in my gear recently, which certainly helps for my Apex team. The only thing that I want more of now, truthfully, is the accessories, right? Swords with medals, juggler plushies, you know. And in terms of hero building, I'm actually kind of torn. I've been considering that I feel Rachel would fit into my box very well if I have her at 6 stars. So she's a hero that I'm looking at potentially, not guaranteed, but potentially to build up. And she would be primarily put in because she would be a secondary damage dealer, but also primarily very important for using Gospel. So she would no longer be like a, you know, one-shot the enemy tank kind of thing. Instead, she would be here to provide support. Some AoE damage, some Gospeling, right? She can Runic Void or Arcane Blast, she can Gospel. She can maybe launch out, you know, the Lightning Strike or whatever. So there's reasons to use Rachel. But she's a support build, Rachel, at that point. So, but we'll see. It's also possible that I'm slowly transitioning away from Yelas Legends. So the alternative is I might not build her. But certainly something I have to keep in mind and consider. But yeah, there's a bunch of characters that are very close to 5 stars that I want to build up. You know, I want to finish up Listel, for example. Rachel is a character worth building. Ares, I'm actually going to upgrade right now to 6 stars. Because he just finished farming up. So there we go, 45 additional attack. But more importantly, the stat increases. So Ares is done. Bernhard only needs 98 more shards, which is very easy for me to finish. Leonhard needs even fewer stars. He needs 72 shards. So he's also very easy to finish. And Leonhard would be like a character that I rotate in depending on the opponent I face. Angelina needs 135 shards. She's also a character that is highly usable and could be worth considering. probably not a character I'm going to build because, as I mentioned, I'm slowly transitioning away from US Legends, which means Angelina fits less into my box. But you know, she's also quite a viable character because she can alternate and move characters up, right, as well as attack in AoE and so on. Other than Angelina, another character that I can build up is Ashram. Right? Ashram just needs, what is it, 85 shards. So he's another character that's full, close to full. He's probably not a character I'm going to build simply because I don't consider him a top tier PvP character. Specifically, if he gets his passives disabled, he becomes very, very weak. But yeah, Ashram is certainly a character that could have been built. And finally, there was one more, a few more. Like Renata is at 50 out of 100 because I ended up getting 3 copies of her while drawing for Langrisser. So with that, she is a viable character for me to build yet again. Because after all, I do play Dark Faction. I have both Bozel and Langrisser built up. So Dark Faction is certainly a faction I'm playing. And Reincarnation eventually gets a tank that replaces Langrisser. And so with that tank, who is a faction buffer as well, Renata becomes much more viable. So Renata is another character I can consider throwing into my box. And last but not least is Sigma. Sigma is indeed part of US Legends as well, but Sigma apparently is getting his SP class on the Chinese server soon, so it will be released for us in around 6 months. And her SP class converts Sigma into an assassin. So Sigma becomes like another deadly assassin like Zerida. And yeah, and I only need 125 shards of Sigma. So decisions to make about all these characters who are at decent star levels and could be worth grinding up. You know, it's not like characters like this where I literally only have 1 copy and there's probably no chance of me grinding them up. With a head start of like 100 additional shards, all of these characters are very, very viable options to build. But there's no rush for them. You know, the current priority is to get the characters for this season's playoffs. These other characters can be decided on for the following season's playoffs. Right. So, yeah, characters everywhere to build. Apex Arena, my current status is I'm stuck in Gold 1. I've been just bouncing up and down endlessly. So I haven't been able to get to 900 points yet. Currently at 1848. 1848 places me at rank 120. I've actually been around this point, these number of points for the past 2 weeks. So I've just been stuck. Hopefully this weekend I can finish it up. Get to Langrisser rank, because that would, the main reason to get into Langrisser rank for me is just so I get the additional additional 10 rare enchant gift packs. What am I saying? The additional 2 rare enchant gift packs, which is 10 extra scrolls, is what I meant. So I currently get 10 of these, so that's 50 scrolls per week. I can get 60 if I just get those final points. And that's really what I'm aiming for and really want, because that's the biggest bonus for me right now. So I'm hoping this weekend I can finally get into the Langrisser rank and stop having to worry about it. Other than that, I guess the very final thing to talk about right now is my training ground. So my training ground is pretty much the same as before. Cavalry training ground, though, is actually complete. I've finished up the group charge tech, at least. And so there's just 2 more techs to finish, which is the Fine Steel Hooves tech, as well as the Rapid Route, maybe. And, well, there's also this one that decreases the damage you take when attacking. But I don't think this one's the top priority to get. So really, I'm really more focused on getting the damage increase, which is Fine Steel Hooves, and maybe Rapid Route. That one's more questionable. This is a great tech if you plan to one-shot to tank bus, but I don't run a tank busting party right now. Right? I run a party that it's not about one-shotting the enemy tanks, but more about AoE assaults. So I don't necessarily need that last tech, this one. But this one would certainly, well, they would both help, don't get me wrong, because at the very least they would buff up the unicorn damage, and I do use Deedlit right now. So we'll see about this. So that's the cavalry training. Flyer training is probably... So holy training is at 60, 70, 60, 60. I've decided for now I can leave it here at this level. There's text that I can still upgrade, of course, and bring it up to 70, 70, 70, but I don't think it's a priority for me. At the very least, I'm not getting one-shotted with, let's say, when I run Crystal Warlocks, my heroes aren't getting one-shotted. So this training ground is leveled up to the point where I'm satisfied with the current performance. Flyer and aquatic training is one that I can upgrade because upgrading it would make my lobster behemoths tougher. So this is one that's kind of in the works. Currently need pretty sprays as well as brown essential oil for it. So slowly I'm going to upgrade this one, toughen up my aquatic characters, and then maybe start toughening up my flyers after that. Flyer and aquatic is the one that I still have the most development to do. For example, I can upgrade the gargoyles for Lestel. I can unlock the steel-winged warriors for Ares, rather than using the current angels, and so on. But in addition to these three, the other training grounds I'm kind of looking at doing too. Archer and Assassin training ground would be upgraded to make the Bolt Rangers tankier. That can significantly increase the survivability of some of my healers, like Iris. The drawback of this is I may very well remove Iris from my party because I may replace Iris with Sophia. So if I do something like that, upgrading the Bolt Rangers is not really worth it. So that's one upgrade that I'm kind of considering though. Upgrading the catapults, because I do occasionally use them on Wilder, is also worth considering to level 10. And the other training ground I'm looking at right now is maybe upgrading the Lancer training ground. And that's because a lot of the upcoming tanks like Albedo are infantry class. So with an infantry class tank, you're going to want Lancer soldiers to protect against all these cavalry enemies. And that really means that if I were to use Albedo, I need this training ground upgraded. So I think I will prioritize the Lancer training ground. So I'll have 4 training grounds that I'm working on, none of which will be fully upgraded, but at least the Lancer training ground will be usable for next season. So that's and in addition, finally, Stone Colossus is used by Juggler, for example. So I have recently upgraded the Stone Colossus to level 10, and that gives him an alternate soldier to use. So what I really do need though is to finish up this tech as well, if I'm to use Stone Colossus, because the Stone Colossus, as long as their hit points is below 70%, the damage taken is decreased by 30%. If you have this tech as well, this adds another 20%. So in total, the Stone Colossus will have 50% damage reduction as long as they're below 70% hit points, which can work pretty well with Juggler. It's not ideal per se, but it certainly kicks in when Juggler is heavily damaged and just reviving those Stone Colossi. So, but other than that, obviously, a lot of these techs like hit point increases, extra defense increases, all of these need to be added on as well. So, if I were to build the Lancer training ground up, I would definitely be prioritizing hit points and defense over increasing the attack. Weird, but that's my plan. If I'm to upgrade this, my priority is on the toughness rather than the attack damage. And the annoying thing is this training ground does use brown essential oil and crazy shorts, and it's annoying because the farming for these two kind of interfere with each other. Right? What I mean by that is from the training ground, for example, you can get either brown essential oil or crazy shorts, one or the other, from Valen and Rocky, so that interferes from each other. And then I think Adon provides brown essential oil as well as the dark chains, And I think it's Jones who provides the other crazy shorts. So Jones provides straps and crazy shorts. So in other words, they constantly interfere with each other. You can only farm, you have to split up the farming of these two items. So it's a little bit of a hassle, but I'm sure over time I can increase my amount of items that I get to get this training ground upgraded. So training grounds are, I don't have any perfectly upgraded training grounds, but I have very usable ones for the opponents I face, I suppose. And that's my current plans. So this was a bit longer than usual, in large part because I have to catch up on some of the other stuff that I've left uncovered for 3 weeks. But this is my current status on my training grounds and on my account. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you found this information useful to you. Nitro out.